I ended up in the hospital after a car crash. My family took my credit card and went on vacation to the Alps instead of supporting me. I never thought I'd write something like this, but honestly, I need to get it off my chest because it's been eating me alive. What happened feels like something out of a bad TV drama, and I still can't wrap my head around the fact that it happened to me. A couple of months ago, I was in a serious car accident. It wasn't my fault. Another driver ran a red light and smashed right into me at an intersection. I don't remember much from the actual crash, just a blur of screeching metal, airbags, and then waking up in the hospital with tubes in my arm, a broken leg, a fractured rib, and more bruises than I could count. I was lucky to be alive, but my life changed in seconds. Suddenly I couldn't walk without help, couldn't shower properly, couldn't even go to the bathroom without nurses assisting me. It was humiliating and painful. Physically and emotionally. Naturally, the first people I expected to be there for me were my family. My parents, my sister, my cousins, the people who always preached about family comes first. I wasn't asking for much. Just someone to sit by my bed, hold my hand, or even bring me a phone charger since mine was smashed in the wreck. Instead, when they came to the hospital, they stayed for about 20 minutes. They weren't even crying or upset, they acted more annoyed than worried, like my accident had inconvenienced their weekend plans. My mom said something like, "Well, at least you're alive. That's what matters." My dad kept checking his watch, and my sister was scrolling through her phone the whole time. I thought, okay, maybe they're just in shock. They'll come around later. Nope. The very next day, I found out they had taken my credit card from my wallet, the one I kept in my car, which got towed after the crash, and decided to go on a much-needed vacation to the Alps. I wish I was joking. I only found out because my phone finally got charged and I started getting fraud alerts from my bank. At first, I thought it was identity theft. But when I called the bank, they confirmed the charges were legitimate. Flights. Hotels. Ski passes. Expensive restaurants. And the names on the reservations matched my parents and my sister. While I was lying in a hospital bed, stitched up and barely able to move, my family was sipping wine in Switzerland, posting smiling pictures on Instagram with captions like, "Life is short, live it to the fullest." I felt like I had been punched in the chest harder than the actual accident. When I confronted them over the phone, after calling them non-stop until they finally picked up, they didn't even deny it. My mom said, "We thought you wouldn't mind. You weren't going to be using the money anyway, and we needed a break after all the stress." A break. From my accident. My sister chimed in with, "You're lucky the hospital is covering your food and bed, so what do you even need money for?" I was speechless. I could barely afford my rent and therapy bills, and they were out there blowing thousands of dollars of my hard-earned savings on skiing trips. They came back 2 weeks later, tanned and happy. And you know what? They didn't even bother to visit me right away. They waited another week because they were jet-lagged. At that point, something inside me broke. I realized I couldn't count on them. These people, who shared my blood, had shown me in the clearest way possible that I was nothing more than a convenience, a wallet, a background character in their lives. I called my bank, filed a fraud claim, since I never authorized those charges, and canceled the card. It's an ongoing process, but luckily I have proof they used it without permission. They're furious at me now, calling me ungrateful and selfish for trying to ruin their good time. My dad actually said, "We deserved that vacation after all the stress you put us through." I've been sitting here in my apartment, recovering slowly, learning how to walk again, and doing it mostly alone. Some amazing friends stepped in to help me with groceries, physical therapy rides, and just basic emotional support, all the things family should have done. And you know what? I think this accident, as horrific as it was, opened my eyes. My family doesn't love me the way I thought they did. Love is shown in actions, not empty words. And their actions showed me exactly where I stand. Once I fully recover, I'm planning to cut ties. Not in a dramatic screaming match, but in a quiet, firm way. I won't let people like that drain me anymore. Blood may be thicker than water, but in my case, it's toxic. Life after the hospital. After almost 3 weeks in the hospital, I was discharged with a cast on my leg, crutches, and a prescription for physical therapy. I was terrified. Going home meant I had to face reality. Cooking, cleaning, showering, even getting out of bed was a challenge. The first few days I cried a lot. You'd think my parents or sister would offer to help me settle in. Nope. Not a call, not a visit, nothing. They didn't even leave groceries or basic supplies. When I finally texted my mom asking if she could pick up a few things for me, she replied, "You're an adult now. You need to learn independence. We can't baby you forever." I had literally just survived a crash that almost killed me. I couldn't believe the audacity. Luckily, some of my friends stepped up in ways that made me cry for good reasons this time. My buddy Alex came over and installed a shower chair and some grab bars. My co-worker Jessica organized a little meal train, so I'd have home-cooked food dropped off every few days. Even my landlord, who barely talks to tenants, offered to take out my trash. Meanwhile, my own blood relatives were radio silent. The bank fight. Remember how I said I reported the charges as fraud? Well, that kicked off a whole storm. The bank initially froze my account for investigation, which left me strapped for cash. I had to borrow money from friends just to cover basic bills until it was resolved. The stress was unreal. On top of healing physically, I had to fight financially too. I provided the bank with hospital records showing I was admitted the exact days those transactions were made. I also gave them screenshots of my family posting from Switzerland on Instagram. The smoking gun. My mom had actually tagged me in one of her pictures with a caption like, "Wish you were here." That tag proved it was them, using my card, while I was stuck in a hospital bed. When I told my parents I had filed the fraud claim, they blew up at me. My dad shouted on the phone, saying I was betraying family, and dragging their names through the mud. My sister texted me paragraphs about how I was selfish and that the trip was therapeutic for them. They even tried to guilt-trip me, saying if the bank reversed the charges, they'd be in debt and it would destroy them financially. I didn't back down. A month later, the bank sided with me. All the stolen money was refunded. My family was furious, of course, but honestly, I felt like I had won a war. The breaking point. The final straw came during a physical therapy session. I was struggling to take steps, sweating, shaking, and in pain, when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. For a split second I thought maybe she was finally checking in on me. Nope. She was asking if I could lend them money for a small family getaway, because they were burnt out from all the stress of dealing with my drama. I almost laughed out loud in the middle of therapy. Here I was, learning how to walk again, and they wanted me to fund another vacation. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked her number. Then my dad's. Then my sister's. One by one, I shut them out. Moving forward. Cutting them off felt like ripping off a bandage, painful but necessary. I've started therapy, the mental kind this time, and it's helping me process not just the accident, but years of smaller betrayals I had ignored. Looking back, I realize this wasn't the first time they treated me like an ATM. It was just the most outrageous. The accident forced me to see the truth. My family doesn't see me as a person. They see me as a resource. And when that resource is inconvenient, they discard me. I've decided I'm done. I'm rewriting my will, updating my emergency contacts, and making sure every official document lists my friends, the people who actually showed up, instead of my so-called family. The strange piece. The weirdest part. I feel lighter now. Even though I'm still in recovery, even though I sometimes wake up from nightmares of the crash, I finally feel like I'm free from a chain I didn't even know I was carrying. Yes, I lost my family. But honestly, did I ever really have them to begin with? Now here's the part I'm wrestling with: they've been trying to contact me through extended relatives. My aunt reached out, saying, "Your parents miss you. Family is family. You need to forgive." But I don't think I can. Or should. Forgiveness feels like letting them off the hook for what they did. And the thing is, I don't miss them. I miss the idea of having a loving family, but I don't miss the actual people. For now, I'm focusing on my healing, my friends, and building a life where I don't have to constantly brace myself for betrayal. And maybe one day I'll write a final update that doesn't involve them at all. The silence didn't last long. After blocking my parents and sister, I thought maybe they'd just move on and leave me alone. I underestimated them. It started with texts and calls from random numbers. Unknown numbers. Some of them would leave voicemails that were clearly my mom's voice. "You can't ignore us forever. We're family. We need to talk about the money situation. You're embarrassing us by acting like a victim." My sister even made a new Instagram account just to DM me. The message was literally, "Unblock me, you dramatic idiot. You're making us look bad to everyone else." It was never, "Are you okay?" or "How's your recovery going?" Always about their image. Their comfort. Their money. The money grab. Then came the real kicker: I got a letter in the mail from their lawyer. Yes. My own family hired a lawyer to send me a demand letter, saying I unfairly seized funds from them by reporting the charges as fraud. They claimed the trip had been, with my verbal permission, a complete lie. And that by reversing the charges, I had inflicted financial harm. They wanted me to pay them back for their Alps vacation. I nearly threw up reading it. I was shaking with anger and disbelief. Thankfully, the bank had already closed the case in my favor, and I had mountains of proof that I never authorized those charges. I sent copies of the hospital admission papers, the fraud claim, and screenshots of their posts to my own lawyer. Yes, I had to get one now. My lawyer basically laughed and said, "They don't have a case. They're bluffing." But still, the fact that my own parents would stoop that low. It broke something inside me all over again. The unexpected visit. A week later, I was home, sitting on the couch with my leg propped up, when there was a loud knock at my door. Guess who? My parents. They didn't even call first. They just showed up. My dad had that fake serious face he uses when he's trying to act like the responsible patriarch. My mom looked pissed, not sad, not apologetic, pissed. The first words out of her mouth: "We need to fix this situation before more people find out." Not, "How are you feeling?" Not, "We're sorry." Just damage control. I told them to leave. My dad tried to push his way inside, saying we needed a family meeting. I actually had to physically block him with my crutches while my heart was pounding out of my chest. It got to the point where I threatened to call the police. That's when they finally backed off, but my mom screamed as they left. "You'll regret this. You think your friends will take care of you forever? Blood is blood." I was shaking for an hour afterward. Support that actually matters. The silver lining. My friends have doubled down on supporting me. Alex, the same buddy who installed my shower chair, actually stayed over that night because he didn't want me to feel unsafe alone. Jessica helped me file a report with local authorities about the harassment, just to have a paper trail. And my therapist? She's been amazing. She told me something that stuck. You're grieving. Not just the accident, but the family you wish you had. The hardest part is accepting they may never exist. That hit me like a truck. Because it's true, I keep waiting for them to change, to show even a shred of genuine care. But all they show me is entitlement and cruelty. Where things stand now. Right now, my family is still trying to use relatives as messengers. My aunt keeps calling, saying my parents just want to sit down and talk and that I need to stop being stubborn. But I don't buy it. I know exactly how that conversation would go: more guilt-tripping, more gaslighting, maybe another attempt to squeeze money out of me. So I've made my decision: I'm going no contact for good. Not low contact. Not, maybe later. Completely done. I've changed my emergency contacts, updated my will, and made it clear to everyone around me: my family does not get access to me anymore. If they show up again, I won't hesitate to call the police. It hurts, don't get me wrong. Cutting ties isn't easy. But at the same time, I feel like I'm finally choosing me for once. Final thought. If anyone out there is reading this and struggling with toxic family, please hear me: you don't owe them access to your life just because you share DNA. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, respect, and showing up when it matters. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away, even if you have to limp on crutches while you do it. I honestly thought after telling them to leave me alone, after blocking their numbers, after even threatening the police, they'd get the message. But apparently my family has decided to make this into a full-blown war. The smear campaign. The first sign was Facebook. I don't even use it that much, but one of my coworkers messaged me: "Hey, are you okay? Your mom posted something kinda crazy about you." When I checked, my jaw hit the floor. She had written this long post about how her ungrateful child turned on them after everything they've sacrificed, and that I lied about being robbed to ruin their reputations. She framed their Alps trip as a family healing retreat and even hinted that I was mentally unstable from the accident and confusing reality. The worst part? Some relatives and family friends believed her. There were comments like, "Poor you, raising such a selfish kid. Kids these days have no respect for parents. Stay strong, you deserve happiness." I wanted to scream. Luckily, I had screenshots, bank statements, and hospital records. I didn't blast it all online, yet, but I quietly sent proof to the few relatives I actually care about. Some of them apologized and said they hadn't known the full story. Others stayed silent. It was a wake-up call: my parents will twist reality as far as they can to keep control. Escalation at my door. A couple of weeks later, it happened again, banging at my door late at night. I froze, déjà vu. This time it wasn't my parents. It was my uncle. Someone I hadn't seen in years. He was red-faced, smelled like alcohol, and started yelling about how I was tearing the family apart and how I should just give them back the money so everyone can move on. I had already prepared for this possibility. I called the police. By the time officers arrived, my uncle was trying to pry open my screen door. He was escorted away, still shouting that I'd regret this. That was the night I filed for a restraining order. Against my parents, my sister, and yes, even that uncle. The legal side. My lawyer helped me prepare everything. Copies of the demand letter they sent. Screenshots of their posts smearing me. Police report from the night my uncle showed up. All the bank documentation. When the hearing date came, I was terrified. Walking into that courtroom on crutches, seeing my family sitting across the aisle, it was surreal. My mom wouldn't look at me. My dad kept smirking like he thought this was all a game. My sister actually rolled her eyes when I gave testimony. But when the judge reviewed the evidence, it was clear. My lawyer was calm and professional, while theirs looked like he was trying to spin gold out of straw. I walked out with a temporary restraining order granted. They are legally barred from contacting me directly or indirectly. When the judge read the decision, my mom gasped like she'd just been stabbed. My dad muttered something about me destroying the family. My sister stormed out before it was even over. I should have felt triumphant, but honestly, I just felt empty. A different kind of family. The people who showed up for me that day weren't blood relatives. Alex drove me to court and sat beside me the whole time. Jessica brought snacks and water because she knew how long hearings can drag. Another coworker even showed up just to give moral support. These weren't people who had to care about me. They chose to. After the hearing, they took me out for dinner to celebrate. It was simple, pizza and soda, but it felt more like family than any holiday with my parents ever did. That night I realized something important. I may have lost the people I was born into, but I'm building something better. A family of choice. A circle of people who don't see me as a wallet or a burden, but as a human being worth loving. Where things stand now. I'm still in physical therapy, but I can finally walk short distances without crutches. My body is healing, and so is my mind. The restraining order gives me some peace, though I know my parents, stubborn as they are, may not respect it forever. But now I'm ready. I'm documenting everything. I'm keeping my circle tight. And for the first time in my life, I'm learning to put myself first. I didn't choose the accident. I didn't choose my family. But I can choose how I move forward. And I choose freedom.